Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today is going to be a very special conversation because we are tackling something that terrifies almost everyone. And I do mean everyone, not just English learners, but native speakers too.
Oh, I know exactly what you were talking about, Tom. It is the dreaded awkward silence. That moment when you are standing in front of someone, maybe at a party, maybe at a bus stop, and your brain just freezes. You want to say something, you want to be friendly, but the words just do not come out.
Exactly. We are talking about small talk. And honestly, Ria, I think small talk gets a bad reputation. People think it is shallow or meaningless. They say things like, I hate small talk, I only want deep conversations. But the truth is, you cannot just walk up to a stranger and ask them about their deepest fears or their childhood dreams. You need a bridge.
That is such a beautiful way to put it. A bridge. Small talk is the bridge between two strangers becoming acquaintances and eventually friends. But Tom, telling our listeners that it is a bridge is one thing. Building that bridge when you're feeling nervous is a completely different challenge. Do you remember the last time you felt awkward trying to start a conversation?
Oh, absolutely. It happens to me more often than I would like to admit. I was at a networking event last month. I walked into this big room. Everyone was holding coffee cups and wearing suits, and I suddenly felt like I was back in school. I felt so small. I saw a group of people laughing, and I just stood by the snack table pretending to be very interested in the muffins.
The snack table strategy. I have been there so many times. It's the safe zone. But that feeling of being small is so real. And for our listeners who are learning English, add another layer of fear on top of that social anxiety. They're worrying about their grammar, their accent, their vocabulary. It's like a double weight on their shoulders.
It really is. But here's the secret that changed everything for me, and I think it will help our listeners too. The goal of small talk is not to be impressive. It's just to be relatable. When I was standing by those muffins, looking terrified, a woman walked up to me. She did not say anything brilliant. She just looked at the muffins, looked at me, and said, I think these muffins might be from yesterday.
I love that. It made you laugh, didn't it?
It did. I laughed, she laughed, and suddenly the tension was gone. We started talking about the food, then the conference, then our jobs. That simple comment, just an observation about the environment, opened the door. That's actually my first big tip for anyone listening. If you don't know what to say, just comment on what's around you.
That is so practical. It takes the pressure off you. You don't have to invent a topic out of thin air. You share a reality. The weather, the food, the music, the long line for the bathroom. It's something you both are experiencing right in that moment. It creates an immediate connection, even if it's a tiny one.
Right. And it signals to the other person that you're open to talking. But Ria, how happens next? You make the comment, the other person laughs or agrees, and then silence again. How do we keep that ball rolling without it feeling like an interrogation?
That's the tricky part. You want to avoid what I call the interview mode. Question, answer. Question, answer. Where are you from? London. Do you like it? Yes. What do you do? I'm a teacher. That kills a conversation faster than anything else. It feels robotic.
It feels like you're filling out a form at the doctor's office. So how do we break that pattern?
You have to use open-ended questions. This is classic advice, but it works. Instead of asking, did you have a good weekend? Which creates a yes or no answer, you ask, what did you get up to this weekend? Or how do you usually spend your Sundays? It invites a story.
I see the difference. One closes the door with a yes or no. The other opens the door for details. But let me play devil's advocate here, Ria. What if our listener asks, "What did you do this weekend?" and the person just says, "Not much, just relaxed." Then you're stuck again.
That's a tough one, but it happens. When that happens, I like to use a technique I call sharing to encourage sharing. If they give you a short answer, you offer a little piece of yourself first. So if they say, not much, just relaxed, you can say, that sounds lovely. I actually tried to bake bread this weekend and it was a total disaster. It was hard as a rock. Usually, when you show a little vulnerability or share a funny moment, the other person feels safe to open up too.
That is so true. Vulnerability is magnetic. When you admit you aren't perfect or you share a small struggle, people relax. They think, oh, this person is human. I can talk to them. It's funny because as English learners, we often try so hard to be perfect. We want perfectly constructed sentences, but in small talk, perfection can actually be a barrier. Being a little messy, a little human, is actually better for connection.
I completely agree. I remember meeting a woman from Brazil once. Her English was quite basic, and she was clearly nervous. We were waiting for a train. She looked at me, pointed at the heavy rain, and just said, English weather. Terrible. And she made this funny face. We both burst out laughing. She did not need perfect grammar to connect with me. She used emotion and humor.
That is a great story. It highlights that communication is about feeling, not just syntax. You know, there's another psychological trick that I love for small talk. It's about shifting your mindset. Most people walk into a conversation thinking, I hope they like me. I hope I sound smart.
Yes, the spotlight effect. We think everyone is judging our performance.
Exactly. But if you flip the switch, if you change your internal monologue to, I wonder what is interesting about this person, everything changes. You go from being a performer to being a detective. You become curious. And let me tell you, Ria, there is nothing people love more than being listened to.
Oh, absolutely. Dale Carnegie said it best years ago, right? To be interesting, be interested. It sounds like a catchy slogan, but it is deep truth. When you are genuinely curious about someone, your body language changes. You lean in, you make eye contact, you smile differently, and people feel that warmth.
So let's get practical for our listeners who are thinking, okay, I want to be interested, but I do not know what to ask. Do you have any go-to topics that never fail?
I do. I try to stay away from the standard work questions immediately because some people hate their jobs or are currently unemployed, and that can get awkward. I love asking about their current context or their downtime. Something like, so, how do you know the host of this party? Is a great safe opener, or watching anything good on Netflix lately?
The Netflix question is a goldmine these days. Everyone is watching something, and people love giving recommendations. It immediately gets them excited. Oh, you have to watch this show. It's amazing. And suddenly you're not just making small talk, you're sharing enthusiasm. That's a bonding moment.
It really is. And you know, Tom, another thing that stops people is the fear of not understanding the answer. Imagine you ask someone, what do you do? And they start talking about astrophysics or complex coding. A lot of English learners panic right there. They just nod and smile and try to escape because they're lost.
That is the worst feeling. You're just nodding your head like a bobblehead doll, terrified they will ask you a question back. What should they do in that situation? Is it okay to admit you don't understand?
Not only is it okay, it's actually a great conversation tool. If someone says something you don't understand, you can lean in and say, wow, that sounds complicated. I have no idea how that works. Can you explain it to me like I'm 5 years old? Most people love explaining their expertise to a layperson. It makes them feel smart, and it takes the pressure off you to know the vocabulary.
I love that advice. Be honest about your confusion. It turns a moment of potential embarrassment into a learning moment. Plus, you get a free lesson in astrophysics or coding.
Exactly. It's about confidence. Not the confidence that you know everything, but the confidence to be okay with not knowing. I want to touch on something else, Tom. The exit. Sometimes the small talk goes well, but then it starts to drag on, or maybe it doesn't go well and you want to leave. I think the fear of being stuck in a conversation keeps people from starting one.
That is a very valid fear. Nobody wants to be trapped. And endings are hard. You don't want to be rude. You can't just turn around and walk away. That would be incredibly strange. So, how do we exit gracefully?
I have a simple formula for this. It's the summary plus the future excuse. It sounds technical, but it's easy. First, you summarize or validate the conversation. You say, "It was so great hearing about your trip to Italy." That's the summary. Then you give a reason to leave. "I need to go grab some water," or "I see my friend over there and I need to say hello." And then the closing. "It was lovely meeting you."
That is smooth. It was so great hearing about your trip to Italy. I'm going to go grab a fresh drink, but it was lovely meeting you. It's polite, it's firm, and it's kind. It leaves the other person feeling good, not rejected.
Precisely. And having that exit strategy in your back pocket gives you the courage to enter the conversation in the first place. You know you have an escape route if you need it.
Tom, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about body language. We're talking on a podcast, so people can't see us, but I can hear your smile. I can hear your energy. How important is nonverbal communication in small talk?
It is everything, Tom. Experts say that a huge percentage of communication is nonverbal. If you are approaching someone with your arms crossed, looking at the floor, or checking your phone, you are screaming, "Do not talk to me." Even if you say hello, your body is saying goodbye.
The phone is the biggest enemy of small talk, isn't it? It is our safety blanket. When we feel awkward, we pull out our phone and start scrolling. But by doing that, we become invisible to others. We close ourselves off.
We really do. My challenge to anyone listening is to put the phone in your pocket or your bag when you are in a social situation. Keep your head up, make eye contact, and just smile. You would be surprised how many people will come talk to you just because you look open and friendly. A smile is the universal language. It translates into every culture.
It really does. I remember once traveling in Japan. I speak zero Japanese. I went into a tiny restaurant and I was nervous, but the owner just smiled at me so warmly, I instantly felt relaxed. We had a whole conversation using just gestures, smiles, and pointing at the menu. It was one of my favorite memories, and it was all just small talk without words.
That is beautiful. It proves that connection is a human desire. We are wired for it. We want to connect. Tom, I want to practice a little bit for our listeners. Let's do a quick role play. I will be the stranger at a bus stop, and you are trying to start a conversation.
Okay, pressure is on. Let's set the scene. It is a cold morning. The bus is late. You're standing there checking your watch. Okay, here I go. Clears throat. Excuse me, do you know if the number 10 has passed by yet?
No, I have been waiting for 20 minutes. It seems like everything is running slow today.
20 minutes? Wow, that is frustrating. I hope you're not going to be late for something important.
Actually, I have a job interview in an hour, so I'm getting a little nervous.
Oh, a job interview. That's exciting, even if the bus is stressful. What kind of job is it for?
It's for a graphic design position at a marketing firm downtown.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure you'll do great. Once the bus finally arrives, at least you'll have a good story to tell them about your dedication to getting there.
See? That was perfect, Tom. You started with a functional question about the bus, then you picked up on my frustration, you empathized, and then when I dropped the information about the interview, you asked a follow-up question. It felt completely natural.
And I felt myself genuinely getting interested. Once you said job interview, I wanted to know more. It's like following a thread. You just have to listen for the hooks. You mentioned waiting 20 minutes. That was a hook. Then you mentioned job interview. That was a huge hook.
And that's the key skill right there. Listening for the hooks. Usually when people speak, they give you little clues about what they want to talk about. If someone says, "I'm so tired, my dog kept me up all night," the hook is the dog. You don't ask, "Why are you tired?" You ask, "Oh, what kind of dog do you have?"
Yes, grab the hook. That makes it so much easier. You don't have to invent the topic. They just gave it to you. But Ria, let's talk about the people who are listening right now and thinking, this all sounds great, but I am still shy, I am introverted, small talk drains my energy.
I hear you. I'm actually quite introverted myself, believe it or not. After a big party, I need to go home and sit in silence for an hour. Small talk can be draining, but I view it as a muscle. If you never go to the gym, lifting a heavy box is exhausting. If you train a little bit every day, it becomes light.
So you're suggesting they practice on low-stakes people.
Exactly. Don't start with the CEO of your company or the person you have a crush on. That's too much pressure. Start with the barista making your coffee. Start with the cashier at the grocery store. Start with the taxi driver. These are interactions that have a time limit. You know it will end in 2 minutes. It's the perfect training ground.
That is fantastic advice. Just a simple, how is your day going? To the cashier is practice. And if you mess up, who cares? You'll likely never see them again. It's free practice.
And you will realize that 99% of the time, people are nice. They appreciate the acknowledgement. We're living in such a disconnected world, Tom. Everyone is in their own bubble. When you pop that bubble with a kind word, it is actually a gift. You're giving someone a moment of connection.
I love thinking of it as a gift. That takes the focus off you again. You're not bothering them. You are offering a moment of humanity. That is a powerful mindset shift.
It is. And for our English learners, remember that people are generally very patient with non-native speakers. In fact, many people find an accent charming or interesting. It is an instant conversation starter. Where are you from? Your accent is lovely. Use that to your advantage. Do not hide it.
I have noticed that too. Often learners apologize for their English before they even say anything else. Sorry, my English is bad, but I always want to stop them and say, no, do not apologize. You're speaking a second language. That is a superpower, not a weakness.
Yes, never apologize for learning. If you stumble, just smile and correct yourself, or ask for the word. How do you say, that thing you use to open a bottle?
A corkscrew?
Yes, a corkscrew. That interaction right there is connection. You helped me. We solved a puzzle together. It is not a failure. It's a collaboration.
I think that is the theme of our episode today, Ria. Collaboration. Conversation is a dance between two people. It is not a test you pass or fail. It is something you build together.
And like any dance, sometimes you step on each other's toes. It happens. You say, "Excuse me?" and you keep dancing. You don't run off the dance floor screaming.
I love that image. Do not run off the dance floor. Just keep moving. You know, Ria, we have covered the opening, the middle, the questions, the listening, and the exit. Is there anything else you think our listeners need to know to really master the art of talking to anyone?
I think the last thing is consistency. You cannot listen to this podcast, nod your head, and then never try it. You have to go out into the real world and be brave. Challenge yourself. Make a goal. Say, "Today I will speak to one new person." Just one.
Small goals, achievable goals.
Yes, and celebrate when you do it. Even if it was just asking someone for the time. You did it. You broke the science barrier. That is a victory.
And over time, those victories stack up. Suddenly, you're the person at the party who looks comfortable. You're the one making others feel at ease. And that's a wonderful transformation to witness.
It is, and English is just the tool. The real goal is connection. The grammar, the vocabulary, the idioms, they're just the vehicle to get you to the person on the other side.
That's such a profound thought to end on. We get so caught up in the mechanics of the language that we forget the purpose of the language: to connect, to understand, to be understood.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening, take a deep breath. The next time you're in an elevator or a line or a waiting room, look up from your phone. Look around. Find something to comment on. Be curious and just say hello. You never know where that conversation might lead.
It could lead to a new job, a new friend, or just a pleasant 5 minutes that makes your day a little brighter. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today, Ria. I feel more ready to talk to strangers myself.
It was my pleasure, Tom. I always enjoy our chats. And to my listeners, thank you for letting us be a part of your English journey. We believe in you. You've got this.
Absolutely. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and do not let the fear of silence stop you. We'll be back soon with more real English voices. Until then, take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Keep talking.
See you next time.